All right, so today we're diving into something pretty surprising and intriguing. We're going to be talking about A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who most people know as the founder of ISKCON. And there's this really extraordinary honor that he received. And get this, posthumously.
Yeah, it really makes you think about the kind of impact that someone can have that echoes through time. This posthumous honor is a really powerful testament to Prabhupada's lasting legacy.
Absolutely. Now, for those who might not be familiar with him, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada founded ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. He's really the one who brought Krishna consciousness onto the global stage, especially introducing it to the West back in the 1960s. And the honor that we're talking about is Vishwa Guru, which translates to world teacher.
Yeah, and within Hinduism, that title, that is not given lightly. That's a deeply revered title. To be named Vishwa Guru implies that you've achieved a level of spiritual understanding and wisdom that goes beyond any one culture or any one country. You're seen as a guide, a teacher, not just for a specific community, but for the whole world.
Wow.
This is a title that's very rarely bestowed. Historically, it's been reserved for figures who not only achieve profound spiritual understanding, but they also demonstrate a commitment to sharing that wisdom very broadly.
That adds a whole other level of weight to this, doesn't it? And here's what makes it even more interesting, is the timing. This title was bestowed upon Prabhupada on February 10th, 2025, during the Maha Kumbh Mela. And this is a massive Hindu pilgrimage and festival with millions and millions of people coming together.
Yeah, if you connect this to the bigger picture, awarding this title during such a significant event definitely amplifies its importance. It's a recognition on a grand stage. And to really understand the significance of this, you have to understand Prabhupada's journey.
Okay, so let's rewind a bit and delve into his story.
Here was a man who arrived in the United States in his late 60s with very few resources. And yet, within a decade, he had sparked a global spiritual movement. ISKCON temples and communities began appearing all across the world, attracting people from all walks of life.
It's amazing to think about how it all stemmed from his arrival in the U.S. in the 1960s. It's like he planted a seed that grew into this incredible sprawling tree.
Exactly. And we learned about this from a series of Instagram reels, actually. Accounts like the ISKCON Bangalore Temple, the India Heritage Foundation in Boston, and even those just dedicated to Prabhupada's teachings were all buzzing with the news.
It's funny to think about, you're scrolling through Instagram and bam, you find out a spiritual leader has been named world teacher. Talk about unexpected content. But, seeing all of those reels really got me thinking about the sheer scale of Prabhupada's influence, to go from arriving in the U.S. with very little to sparking a global movement. It's truly remarkable. What were the core principles that resonated so deeply with people?
Well, he was incredibly dedicated to making ancient Vedic scriptures accessible. Through his writing and translations, he really kind of bridged that cultural and linguistic divide. He opened up these really profound texts to a much wider audience. His teachings centered on Bhakti Yoga.
And what exactly is Bhakti Yoga? I've heard the term, but I'll admit I'm a little fuzzy on the specifics.
So Bhakti Yoga is a path of devotion and love for Krishna. In essence, it's about cultivating a loving relationship with the divine. And Prabhupada presented these teachings in a way that really resonated with people from all walks of life, regardless of their background or beliefs. This wasn't about, rigid doctrines, but about a personal connection with the divine.
Okay, that makes sense. It's a much more relatable and approachable way to connect with spirituality than some of the more austere or complex paths out there.
And this accessibility was key to his impact. Prabhupada didn't just transmit knowledge, he created a living, breathing tradition. ISKCON, with its vibrant communities and devotional practices, continues to thrive today. Carrying his teachings forward, he also strongly emphasized community, vegetarianism, and living a simple life centered around spiritual practice. These ideas really resonated with the counterculture movements of the 60s and 70s, attracting a whole new generation of spiritual seekers.
So it sounds like he provided a framework for people to live a more mindful and intentional life, which I think is something that continues to appeal to people even today. So coming back to this title, Vishwa Guru, now that we have a bit more context, it almost feels like this recognition isn't just about Prabhupada's personal contributions, but about the impact of the entire movement he ignited.
You hit the nail on the head. This honor is a testament to the power of one person's vision, to ripple outwards and create lasting change in the world. But this brings us to a fascinating question. Why now? Prabhupada passed away in 1977, so why bestow this honor posthumously, and why during this particular Kumbh Mela?
Right? It's like there's a deliberate intention to re-emphasize his teachings and legacy at this specific moment in time. Why do you think that is?
Well, perhaps it's a recognition of ISKCON's growing global influence and the spread of Hindu philosophy and culture internationally, much of which can be traced back to Prabhupada's pioneering work.
That makes a lot of sense. But it also makes me wonder if maybe there's something deeper at play here. The world feels pretty chaotic these days, don't you think?
It's true. I mean, we're facing unprecedented challenges, like climate change and political and social divides. This constant sense of uncertainty, it's a lot.
Yeah, exactly. With all of that going on, maybe there's a renewed hunger for spiritual guidance, for teachings that offer a sense of peace and connection.
I think you're onto something. With the rise of social media and this constant pressure to project a perfect image, Prabhupada's emphasis on inner peace over external validation feels incredibly relevant. His teaching on finding contentment and meaning within, rather than seeking it from these fleeting external sources, right? It could be a much-needed antidote to the anxieties of modern life.
Right. It's like we're realizing that likes and followers don't actually bring lasting happiness. And maybe we're starting to look inward for a more authentic sense of fulfillment.
And that's where Prabhupada's teachings become so powerful. He offered a path to connect with something larger than ourselves, to find a sense of purpose and belonging within a community.
So this recognition as Vishwa Guru might be a way of highlighting the relevance of his teachings for these, very specific challenges that we're facing today. It's like saying, hey, maybe this wisdom from the past holds some answers for the present, right?
Precisely. It also makes us think about what it even means to be a world teacher these days. Is it purely about religious teachings, or is there something more? Is it about offering, a roadmap for navigating the complexities of the modern world and finding inner peace amid all the chaos?
This raises some interesting questions. I mean, we often think of world teachers as figures like Buddha, Jesus, Confucius, spiritual leaders who left a profound mark on history. But what about individuals who've made groundbreaking contributions in other fields? Could they be considered world teachers too?
Absolutely. Think about someone like Nelson Mandela. His message of forgiveness and reconciliation, it transcended political boundaries and it resonated globally. Or scientists like Marie Curie, whose groundbreaking discoveries continue to shape our understanding of the world today. Perhaps a world teacher is anyone whose work goes beyond their specific field and it leaves an indelible mark on humanity as a whole.
Yeah.
They inspire generations to come.
That's a really expansive way of looking at it. It's not just about the specific teachings, but about the ripple effect that someone creates, the movements they inspire, the way they challenge us to think differently and to live better.
Exactly. It's about embodying certain values and principles and inspiring others to do the same, leading by example, if you will.
I love that. It really expands our understanding of what it means to be a teacher or a leader. It's not just about having all the answers, but about creating a space for learning, growth, and positive change.
And that's something we can all aspire to, regardless of our background or beliefs. It's about striving to be the best versions of ourselves and contributing to a world that is more compassionate, more just, more interconnected.
This is giving me so much to think about. What stands out to you about this whole story?
I think what strikes me the most is the idea that someone's impact can continue to grow and evolve even after they're gone. Prabhupada's teachings are finding new meaning and relevance in a world that he couldn't have possibly imagined during his lifetime. It speaks to the enduring power of ideas that resonate with the human heart.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, what other figures from the past might be rediscovered or reevaluated in the future? Whose work will stand the test of time and continue to inspire generations to come?
That's a fascinating thought. History is constantly being written and rewritten, and perspectives shift with time. Who knows what hidden gems from the past are waiting to be unearthed and celebrated? Perhaps in a few decades, we'll be having a similar conversation about someone we haven't even heard of yet.
I love that. It's a reminder that there's always more to learn, always new perspectives to discover.
Absolutely. And speaking of discoveries, there's another layer to this Vishwa Guru title that we haven't touched on yet.
Oh, I thought we'd covered it all. What else is there?
Well, we talked about the broader societal anxieties and the search for meaning, but the timing of this honor might also be a response to a more specific challenge, the way certain spiritual teachings have been misinterpreted or even misused to justify harmful actions.
Whoa, okay. Now we're getting into some really important territory. Tell me more.
Think about it. In recent years, we've seen instances where religious beliefs have been twisted to justify violence. to justify discrimination. Or even political agendas. This has led to a sense of distrust and skepticism towards organized religion and spiritual teachings in some circles.
It's true. It feels like there's this growing divide between those who see spirituality as a source of peace and unity and those who use it to justify division and exclusion.
And this is where recognizing someone like Prabhupada as Vishwa Guru becomes particularly significant. He was a strong advocate for nonviolence, peace, and interfaith dialogue.
So it's like this honor is a way of reclaiming the true essence of spiritual teachings, the focus on love, compassion, and understanding.
Exactly. It's a reminder that spirituality at its core is about connecting with our shared humanity, not about creating barriers or divisions.
That's powerful. It's like this honor is sending a message. Here's a model of spiritual leadership that embraces inclusivity and understanding, a model that's desperately needed in our world today.
And it invites us to examine our own beliefs and biases. Are we using our spiritual understanding to build bridges or to create walls?
That's a powerful question for all of us to consider.
And it brings us back to the idea that a world teacher isn't just someone who imparts knowledge, but someone who inspires us to become better versions of ourselves.
Right, it's not about dogma or blind faith, but about living our values and striving to make the world a more compassionate and just place.
Exactly, and this brings us back to the core of what makes someone a world teacher. It's not about dogma or rigid beliefs, but about offering a path to inner transformation that can ripple outward and create positive change in the world.
It's not about preaching, but like embodying those teachings, right? And inspiring others to do the same.
Precisely. A world teacher walks the talk, so to speak. They live their teachings, demonstrating their power through their own actions and interactions with the world.
Yeah, and that's something we can all aspire to. Regardless of our spiritual beliefs or backgrounds, it's about striving to be the best versions of ourselves, living with intention and purpose, and making a positive impact on the world around us.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe by embodying these values, we can collectively create a world that's more peaceful, more compassionate, and more interconnected.
Wow, this exploration has taken us on quite a journey, from Instagram reels to ancient wisdom, from the bustling crowds of the Maha Kumbh Mela to the quiet contemplation of inner transformation. We've covered a lot of ground today.
It's been a truly enriching conversation, and it leaves us with a lot to ponder as we move forward.
It certainly does. So to wrap things up, let's circle back to that question we posed earlier. What other figures, historical or contemporary, might deserve the title World Teacher? And what criteria would you use to decide?
Well, we encourage all of you to continue this conversation amongst yourselves, explore different perspectives, and challenge your own assumptions. Who knows? You might even discover some unexpected world teachers in your own life.
Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey of discovery. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deeper into the world around you. 17 Eyes.
Bhagavad Prasada Sadvana Chitam Harivakta Sanghan Chatur Vidhasi Bhagavad Prasada Sadvana Chitam Harivakta Sanghan Deva Triting Bhajata Sadaiva